Next Chapter. My name is Dave. Welcome back. I have a great interview for you today. A friend that I met on Clubhouse, an author. His name is Harry Spaight. Harry has a book called Selling with Dignity. Harry has a great background, served as a missionary for many, many years, switched over from missions to go into a life of sales with no formal education in sales, little experience. He worked his way from being a salesperson to leading a sales team, and now he has this great book that addresses how to sell, but also have dignity in the process. He has some very amazing things to share with you today here on Living the Next Chapter. So happy to have authors with great stories, great resources. I've got links in the show notes for you for the book. Take a listen to Harry Spaight as he joins us today on Living the Next Chapter. Selling with Dignity. This is the right place to be. Are you ready? Here we go. Hello, everybody. This is Living the Next Chapter, and I'm here with a new friend, somebody that I met on Clubhouse, someone who brings value, who helps people, a great backstory, a wonderful gentleman who loves to talk with his hands, wearing a lovely striped shirt, which I enjoy. He is bright, he's wonderful, talented, and he's given us a few moments of his time today, which we are very appreciative of. So on Living the Next Chapter, we have Harry Spaight, author of the award-winning, best-selling book in the entire world, Selling with Dignity. You should stand right now. You should give him some applause. This is the man. And I'm happy to have you here with me, Harry. This is where I turn it over to you. What would you like to talk about? Welcome.
Thunderous applause. I just hear it resounding throughout Canada and North America. It is amazing to be here. And the coziness of the fireplace has got me all warm. The crackling sound. It's beautiful. So I'm really honored to be in this podcast with you, David. And David and I, for those of you who don't know, I met David relatively in the recent past. We're now in early 2022. I think it's been a couple of months where I met David on Clubhouse, and he pops into a Clubhouse room that we're talking about sales, sales techniques, sales something for the entrepreneur. And David is like a loyal listener, a loyal participator, not just a listener, but he actually participates. So we built up this friendship, and this is the whole new world, right? Where people are building relationships through this virtual world where you never physically meet people, but you feel like you've known them for years.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you're just a guy that puts out a good vibe. So I like people that put out good vibes, good energy, chill, not high pressure. And I built a career out of that stuff, and I like to choose my friends that are like that. So
thank you.
I'm looking forward to this conversation. So what are we going to talk about? Are we talking about next chapters in life? We're talking about books. We're talking about social media. You tell me, because I'm raring to go.
Well, this could be a 4 or 5 hour podcast.
All right, good. I got the time.
Well, coming into those Clubhouse rooms, like you mentioned, that's the reason I'm coming in there is I would say, from my point of view, that I'm not really a salesperson. So selling for me seems icky, and I'm an introvert. And you may not know.
I love it.
I'm an introvert, so I feel like I'm bothering people all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll give you an example here. So when I was in high school, college age, I took a job because I couldn't find a job what the job was selling gym memberships at a hotel, kind of like your highway side hotel, right?
Yeah.
A little buffet and 25, 30 rooms and a little tiny gym.
Okay.
Right? Very tiny, but I would have to call people up. So I'm in this room with a bunch of salespeople, and we're sitting with our faces like to our back to the middle of the room, our faces against the wall. We're just in one of the rooms. They took the beds out, threw tables in, threw a bunch of phones in, a bunch of phone books and a script, and go, right?
Love it.
Okay, so
That's hardcore.
Well, I'm setting this up. You got the poster on the wall. We got the cat hanging off the tree, just hang in there. We have all those motivational posts.
Yeah.
We have the things that they're not saying no to you. They're saying no to the product, right?
Yeah.
All these things is kind of boost you up. And I think I worked there for a week.
Wow.
Okay, a whole week. I know, right?
I might have lasted a day.
So like the cat in the tree, I hung in there, Harry, because one day I was going to meet you and I wanted to have this story. So I can remember team meetings where we'd get together as a group, and there were people in that room who were diehard salespeople. Like they could sell you your own watch, right? You just like that. They had it down. They were slick as anything and super committed. Like people would stand when they come in the room. They were Harry Spaight. So, so I'm sitting there as this introvert kid who does not like to bother people, and sales makes me feel weird. And we sit in our team meeting. We go around the circle, and it was funny. The leader said, "Okay, everybody, how many packages are you going to sell today?" So we go around the table. There's like, "Oh, I'm going to sell 100." Of course. Oh, 200. I'm going to sell 200 today, right? And go all the way around the table. Everybody gives crazy numbers.
Yeah.
And I say, I'm going to sell 2.
Okay.
And you could hear that pen drop, right?
Right. Yes.
It's like, what? 2? I was the only one with single digit number that I brought up. So then my boss says, okay, if you can double that number, you get this prize. And he rolls out the prize, like Price is Right.
Steak knives.
Yeah. So I had to sell 4 to win the prize.
Yeah.
These other clowns had to sell like 400, 500, 600. Right. So I did it, as I had 4 people already in my mind that I could sell this to, and they're all family. And they did it just to help me. Right.
Yeah.
Had I not had them, I wouldn't have sold. So anyway, so I sold my 4 and I won.
Yeah.
Okay. Everyone hated me. Everybody hated me because I had such crazy number. But I used to call phone numbers that were not in service. I would call people that weren't home and just listen. I would do my little spiel to nobody. I would call fake numbers that didn't exist because I couldn't wait to get out of there, Harry.
Yeah.
So when I see
were you getting paid, or was this commission only?
I got paid. Okay. I got a small amount and then a commission on top. But so when I see your book and when I walk into these sales rooms on Clubhouse, I'm still that kid who comes in and says, I don't want to do this, Harry. Yeah. I really don't want to do this. So we want to get into the book in the podcast. I need you to help me, Harry. Get past that memory because it haunts me to this day. Right?
Yeah, and I can relate.
Okay. So that's where I'm coming from as we get into the podcast. So let's rewind and let's go back a little bit and give a little backstory for you, Harry, so people listening will know who they're listening to and recognize that they should sit up straight and listen because Harry is speaking.
Oh, Harry, goodness.
Give us a background to Harry, and so people can catch up to our relationship and where we're at.
All right. So I have a similar story. When I was just out of high school, I met a realtor, and he connected me with someone who was starting a real estate business. And he says, sales is a great career. And I went and worked for this realtor or whatever he was. And I was making phone calls out of the phone book to people in their homes at night. So from like 7 to 9 o'clock at night. And I probably did that for no more than 4 or 5 days. So that was not what I wanted to be doing. And that was my first taste of sales. And then it was years and years later that I really got involved in sales officially. So my story is I was in mission work for over a decade. And the last couple of years, my wife and I lived in the Dominican Republic. And then we were getting older. I was getting older. She was still young. And she asked, well, are we ever going to have kids? And I went, oh, yeah, I guess so. And that made me think I'm going to have to do something to support a family. And prior to the mission work, I was doing janitorial and house painting work. So I was up on ladders that were, 36 feet tall, painting houses and bouncing ladders around and, cleaning toilets, whatever I could do to support the mission life. and saved up enough money where we could go live overseas and so forth. So I didn't want to go do that again. And I said, you know what? I'm a pretty good communicator. Maybe I could get a job in sales. So long story short, after I came out within inside of a year, I was, in a corporate sales position in a sales bullpen, longing for riding the motorcycle in the Dominican Republic because I was looking at a cubicle shoulder to shoulder with people, listening to people breathe, let alone listen to, having those hushed conversations. And I'm like, God, am I in the wrong place or what? But what kept me there was I didn't want to go back to cleaning toilets. I felt like I could do this, and I just had to learn. I listened to everything about closing. We gotta get the business. We gotta close them. Sales reps are going to their manager. I got this guy. How do we close it? And, he's asking me to lower the price. What do? I lower the price. Okay, so we get the business. And this was the exact opposite of the world from which I came, number one. And also a book I read, which is called The Greatest Salesman in the World, written by Og Mandino, which he writes about the 10 scrolls. And one of the scrolls was, I will greet this day with love. And so here I was, this sappy person that viewed humanity as all a great brotherhood and that we're all in it together and kumbaya. It's like, I'm in a sales bullpen that it's about what you do to people, not what you do for people. So I eventually adopted a little bit of that and said, this is just not going to work. And I went back to my roots, which are in the mission work. And I remember riding in my car after failing miserably month after month with a bunch of zeros on the board. And, zeros are not good in sales, right? Zeros are not good. And I was thinking, well, how are these people even going to pay me? They're not going to pay me. They're going to tell me to get lost. It was an attempt and I've got to go. And I said, you know what? Before I do, I'm going to give this the Harry Spaight customer service. I said, I may not be able to sell anyone, but I can outserve. And I'll just be the best customer service salesperson there is in the state of Connecticut, which was where I was. And things started to click, so I just provided like the best type of treatment whenever I spoke to people. It was all about them and nothing about me, nothing about closing. And it worked out, and that type of service is where I came from, and it worked, and I produced tons of revenue, got into sales leadership, became a VP of sales in Washington, D.C., which was, climbing the corporate ladder, all based on serving people. I had no college degree. People, when they found out that I had no degree, it's like, what? You're a VP of how, and it was a publicly held company. So it's not shabby. This was in an era where when people found out you didn't have a degree, sometimes they'd get rid of people because the qualification was you're supposed to have a degree. So thankfully that wasn't the case with me, but just to prove that selling with a service mindset and leading with a servant mindset works. Right. And so you don't have to be the obnoxious, outgoing extrovert in order to sell successfully. So what's your thought?
What I like about that, Harry, is you're coming to sales as Harry.
Yeah.
That's who you are. And that's how you treat people when you were in the mission field, right?
Yeah.
You were serving people. You were coming with value. You were coming to focus on them and not to focus on you. So it's very natural then, and I think one other example from my sales history was in the same room with that stale air, and we had the bell. You had to bring your paper up to the desk when you sold and hit the bell.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, anyway, I hated everything about it because it just felt so not me, because I'm not that way. I feel, I started into my script and it was like the manager would stand right behind you, right beside you, like right here, touching your shoulder. And you had to read the script. And I remember calling this one business to sell this package of the gym and all that stuff. And he's like, hey, stop. I'm like, so I stopped. My manager's like, what are you doing? He's pushing me. Keep going, keep going.
Yeah.
Next line, right? And he's like, and the guy on the phone says, listen, I don't know you, but if you can sell me this product without that script in front of you, I'll buy it.
Mm. Yeah.
So I look up at my manager behind me, and he's like, no, pointing at the script. So I shut the binder, and my manager had a meltdown.
Oh.
I did the entire sales thing from my head, from me.
Sure.
Not a piece of paper.
Yeah.
I almost got fired, but I sold it. And I walked up to the desk, put the paper on the desk, sale final, ding the bell.
Yeah.
And my manager looked at me like, what just happened here?
You rebel.
Right?
Yeah.
So anyway, for me, it felt more natural to come from me. And I know there's power in the script. There's a reason there's a script. But I wanted to come from me.
Yeah.
I wanted that connection with the person. I didn't want to just read to you. Right. And you're just another number and just one call, and just get rid of all the no's and focus on the yeses. I get that. But I didn't feel a connection with the audience.
Yeah.
But going through Clubhouse and meeting you, I just coming into these rooms, listening to sales talk, again, as a newbie, and then listening to you and how you present your thoughts and topics and your responses to topics. Harry's coming in with Harry. And I love it because I'm connecting with you through a little picture on a Clubhouse app and listening to your voice and going, this is the guy that I want to talk to. Right. And I think that opens a door because you're coming from who you are. And I love that that's kind of your overarching way that you approach sales. So that's why I'm learning from you, and I'm there in the room to listen. So
yeah, I appreciate that.
I love it, Harry. So tell me more about why the book, who the audience is for the book as well.
Well, it's for you. I wrote it for you. Yeah. I mean, it's in all seriousness, it's I know that there's tons of people who are in sales and tons of entrepreneurs that feel like they're not cut out for sales. I wasn't cut out for sales. I was not the 22-year-old that came out of college wearing a white shirt and pressed tie, and just started mimicking scripts. That's not who I was. I was always a bit of a rebel, even though I was spiritual and I got involved with, the whole mission thing. I did it I'm still kind of a rebel. If you knew my background, I had an Ivy Leaguer parent who there's part of that whole rebel thing going on. And it's like, yeah, well, you're really smart, but I'm going to do the exact opposite. Right. And, left high school, got jobs and then went into mission work and then, so all kinds of craziness. So I always had this bit of a rebellious spirit. And I'm just like you. I would never really look at a script. I mean, I penciled out what my thoughts should be, but it was all about, once I figured it out, that it was about serving, that you could have conversations that talk about the weather. You could talk about traffic. You talk about business and build up, rapport with people that you could eventually say, well, the actual reason for my call is, and that was 2 minutes in instead of pitching something where you had to get to the point immediately, right? So these are things I learned through trial and error. And there was back then in the 90s, there wasn't really this authentic feel that so many are talking about today that was really out of left field, I think. That as far as I knew anyway. So I wrote knowing that I'm probably not alone, that there are other people like me that wanted to be in sales and just needed someone else to say, hey, you can do this, right? I want to be like, I know it sounds crazy, but I want to be like Harry. I want to be like that guy. He enjoys people. He has fun. He doesn't use pressure. He writes a lot of business, and he seems to have a lot of friends doing this. And, others were looking at the obnoxious lone wolf that was, hard closer that, wore the fancy watches, drove the nice Mercedes or BMWs. I'm driving, an old Honda Accord or something reliable. I was poor, so it's just, it all worked out. And I said, there are people like me that are just regular Joes and Janes that are not flashy, that can serve others and, just please people and get business. And that's really what I ended up doing.
It's great.
So yeah, thank you. But so people like you is really, when I come across people like you that say, well, I'm not good in sales or I'm not cut out for it, I can say, me too. I'm part of that Me Too movement. I was not cut out for sales either. And I found a way to make it work. And I've learned over time that our best selling is to ourselves. Okay? Our best sales job is selling to ourselves. And if we sell to ourselves that we're not very good, then we're not going to be very good. Right? So I had to retrain my mind and say, I'm just different. I'm just going to serve. And that through service, the sales will come. And this is all part of the whole Christian message, and it's part of religion in general. Do unto others, treat others well, serve, and you'll be taken care of.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, so I had these, not to get really religious, but these verses from the good book that says, the birds don't worry about where their next meal's coming from. Sure. Yep. So I said, what? I can live like that. I'm probably not going to end up my worst thought was, I'm not going to live in a box underneath the highway somewhere. It will never be that bad. So if that was the lowest it was going to be, and I know it wasn't going to be that bad, then I could pretty much do anything and give this a try. And it works. So the book is for people like you. And in it, I talk about affirmation, that you have to convince yourself. So we live in a world where, for whatever reason, it's not the world, it's us. Right? For whatever the psychological reason is, we go negative on ourselves. And we say things like, I'm not worthy, I'm not deserving, I'm not the greatest looking guy, I'm not the funnest, the funniest guy, I'm not the smartest. And we say all the things that are negative. But if our kids were to say something like, and my kids have said this, they're older now, but I remember them saying things like, why can't we live in a house like that? And the house we lived in at the time was 3 times the size of the house I grew up in. Yeah. Much better neighborhood. It was living the dream. We had a brook in the backyard. We had woods for the kids to play in. We had a golf course on the other side of the woods. Beautiful patio or deck. It was incredible. And my kids would find someone else's house in the neighborhood and say, why can't we live in that house? And so this is human nature. We are comparing ourselves to people who have more, not to people who have less. And if we look at ourselves and say, look at the things that I have accomplished in life. Yeah. I'm a musician. I've got this incredible home with a Coca-Cola sign in, all these cool gadgets I have, the fireplace. These are things I dreamt about as a kid, and this is what I have now, and it's so awesome. Then we say things like, I'm freaking awesome. Yeah. So in my car, when I learned about these affirmations, and I don't know how I learned about them, but I would say, I am awesome. I'm Harry Spaight. Right. And it's just like, I'm Harry Spaight. And I kept saying that. I'm Harry Spaight. I am awesome. So then I would also do the clapping. Right. So I was looking at athletes at some game and I'm like, the whole crowd is cheering for some guy going up to the plate. How cool is that? Yeah. I said, I get no one cheering for me. So I'm going to start cheering. Wow. So then I would start giving myself the Red Sox clap. Let's go, Harry. And I would just start doing that, right? And I would do that. I'd be in my office, my bedroom. I'd be in the bathroom. I got to go pump myself up, get fired up, get that adrenaline going, and it releases chemicals in your brain. I'm not sure which ones those are. Yeah. Dopamine, when you hear applause, right? All this stuff is going on chemically in your body, and you come out and you're all fired up, and you're like, "What is up with you?" And it's like, "I'm Harry Spaight. Come on, we're gonna win. Let's go, baby. You're a winner." And people are just like crack up and say, "Who is this guy?" And it was like, "Look, I've accomplished things in my life I am happy about, and don't tell me I'm not good at something, because I'm way better than I once was." It's sort of like a Toby Keith song, maybe.
Yep. Yeah.
And we keep making progress. So damn it, we need some pats on the back, and the best one to give them is ourselves.
Yes.
Because when someone else does it, what do we say? I'm not worthy. I'm just a regular. And we start speaking negatively about the great accomplishments that we've done. So when we look back, and I invite everyone who says, "I'm not good at sales," ask why you're saying that, number one, and then look back in your life and look at where you are now and look at the progress you made and say, "Damn it, there's some selling that went on." Right? We're all selling, right? Whether it be our spouses, we're trying to convince someone to marry us, we're trying to win discussions over with our children, debates, negotiations. All of that is selling, right? We're selling ideas. And so when you're saying, "I'm not good in sales," I'm saying you're selling yourself to anybody, not just you, but to anybody. And so even when I catch myself, David, and I say things like recently, I'm like, "I'm not very good yet on video." But then I look back, at my first video a year and a half ago, it's like, holy crap, I am a lot better than I once was. And there's no reason to think I'm not going to continue to get better.
I love it.
Look at you, right?
Yeah.
Right here, you're becoming the master of podcasting. Like 2 weeks ago, you didn't have any. Now you got like 5.
Yeah, I know, right? I have a problem, Harry.
Yeah, but so I don't want to hear this, whenever we say something negative, I'm not, right? When we begin with that, just flip it and say, "I am."
Exactly.
Right. And so that's where the whole game can change, where businesses can prosper. And there's no reason for us to be our own worst enemy when we're doing so much good, and then we sabotage our own selves. Makes no sense. And we all do it.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not saying I don't do it. It's just like I catch myself and I make sure I go in the bathroom and I see the phrases, right? I see relentless, right? Relentless is my word for 2022, because I'm not going to stop, right? There's no stopping. And I have, what I'm doing in speaking. I have what I'm doing with earning and these things. So these are things that is just all part of the affirmations. And I think for crying out loud, if you're a religious person, right? This is the thing that cracks me up, is that people who say that they're religious say they don't believe in this self-promotion and so forth. It's like, you might want to check the one you're following.
Yeah.
Because that person, regardless of the religion, was a huge self-promoter.
Yeah.
Right? They had doubts. Yeah, they'll talk about their doubts, but they overcame the doubts and got into I am statements, affirmations. And it's like, do you know who I am? Right? They didn't say, "Well, I'm little old nobody." They're like, "Do you know who I am?"
Yeah.
And that is the confidence that comes from that is, we all can have it.
I love it.
Is this crazy? Is this off the charts?
No,
I need to be locked up?
No, I love having the right mindset. Right. And I was listening to other podcasters and other authors talking about, what you tell yourself and how you frame your mindset and you spend your day. Like your brain doesn't spend 5, 10, 20 minutes thinking about how heavy your shirt is on your body or, how my hair feels. But now that I say it, my brain's like, "Oh, you want to know how your hair feels? I'll let you know." As soon as you start thinking about something and putting it in front of you, then your brain's like, "Oh, that's important to you. Then we'll show you more of that." You buy a car and now you see that car everywhere. Right. Because your brain's like, "Well, if you like the car, I'll show you the car." Before you didn't care about the car. So I left that alone. Right. And your brain is constantly filtering out all the things that are irrelevant or not important at the moment And it's just like, well, Dave doesn't need to see that right now because he's got this going on, but as soon as you
You're right.
focus on something, your brain's like, oh, that's important. Oh, you want to be good at this, right? Oh, you keep saying that, I heard the thing with a parent, and they had a small child hiding behind them in the store, and somebody came up and they're like, oh, that's Susie, she's the shy one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So growing up, what do you think you're going to be as an adult when you're told as a child you're the shy one?
Right.
It's something that's in front of you.
Oh my goodness.
Right?
Yeah.
So now your brain just says, well, you're the shy one, so we'll just remind you of that every day. Right?
Oh my goodness.
Whatever you put in front of you and where you're working towards is going to be the thing that your brain is like, well, whatever you want, just tell me. Brain can't decide what's right and wrong. It just, whatever you focus on, that's what I'm going to feed you.
Yeah.
Right? It's kind of like the brain is Netflix.
The brain is Netflix.
So when you watch something on Netflix, then they start suggesting other things that go along with it.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you like
right.
police shows?
Yeah, exactly.
You turn on Netflix or you turn on social media, and everything you see is police shows. Yeah. Because you said you liked it. So now we're just going to feed it to you.
Yeah.
Right? Here's more of that. Here's more of that. Right? You didn't search gardening, so we're not going to show you gardening because you're not into that. But the moment you look up gardening, everything is gardening. Right? It's like the world just kind of feeds you whatever you're interested in. So I think that's kind of how our brain works. Right?
It does. Yeah.
So if you say you're not good at sales, your brain's going to be like, you're not good at sales.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to look for all the excuses that you're not good. And every time, and I I know this person pretty well, and he will lose deals before the deal is anywhere near completion. And he's already got a negative attitude. He said, this person doesn't like me. We're not going to win this deal. And it's like, well, then we're not going to win the deal. Yeah, so why do we even bother? Yeah. Right. And it's just like, golly. And it's people do this all the time. I mean, that negativity, it's like thoughts are things.
Yes.
Right. So you think that it's going to be negative. It's going to be negative.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. And it's, Napoleon Hill wrote about this. And it's been things that were written about thousands of years ago, that thoughts are things, right? That's why that, the whole thing about thinking leads to, some would say leads to sin, but it also leads to greatness, right? It's like, so we always put the negative on it, but the reality is we can put the positive on it, and it's our choice.
Okay.
So I choose to be positive. And I wasn't always positive, Dave.
Yeah.
People will say things like, "Oh, Harry, you're so positive." I wasn't. I mean, I had extremely dark thoughts as a teenager. And I'm not going to go into it because people will say, "Wow, you're messed up." But it was dark, and I came out of that. And it's just like I made choices that I was going to be positive because that life didn't end in a good place.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, and I mentioned earlier, I was a bit of a rebel, but I didn't know. I mean, the thing you're learning and so forth, but I had to leave that darkness behind and say, I'm going to flip the script here. I'm going to do something different. And, I'm going to be the glass half full guy.
Nice.
And it's not hereditary. It's a choice we make. In my opinion, because I did it.
Yeah. All right. So
what's your thought?
Harry, they get your book. They've read your book. They're closing the back cover of your book. They're done. They've read the Harry Spaight, Selling with Dignity. What do you want people to walk away from the book? What is the purpose? What is the overarching thing that you want people to know and feel when they close that book?
Yeah. So that number one, you can do it. Right. Number one is you can be better at sales. And if I can do it, you can do it. And here are ways to do it. Now, granted, not everyone's going to go through each chapter because when you read a book, whatever, you read a chapter and you say, oh, that's great. I'm going to give that a try. And then, we get busy and we don't. But I am living it and I keep doing it. And so I suggest if you like the mindset of what comes from the book, if you like that type of thinking, just find me on social media and I'm going to keep providing the tips. I'll keep providing the value. And if you want to have a conversation, I'm more than open to have conversations. And I'll provide coaching and mastermind groups or whatever people need to help further the mission, which is, helping entrepreneurs and salespeople to be better at selling, to drive their business and to drive the economic engines of the country they live in, right?
Yes.
And which is better for everybody.
Yeah. Excellent. So, Harry, how can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm sure there'll be show notes. You can find me on my website, harryspaight.com, sellingwithdignity.com, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Clubhouse, geez, you name it. And I've got more. Yeah, the list keeps growing.
I love it, Harry.
Fun. This has been fun. I hope there's value in this that, if I hear you say I'm not very good at sales again, I'm going to make a snap out of it.
I've come to your classroom, Harry. I've learned. I have things to do now. I have homework, and I appreciate that you take time for a podcast to share your message. I know we're going to have a part 2 because there's too much Harry Spaight to confine to one podcast. So that's an open invitation to have you back again, Harry, and share more.
Absolutely.
Because I think, like I said, that the world needs more Harry Spaight.
Well, I mean, and more of you, Dave, because you're driving, opportunities for people as well. And you're building an empire that is going to support other people. And to me, that's the fun part about living, right? It's not like we have to become gazillionaires, but just contributing and providing jobs for people and making their economics better and showing people how to do it in a way that's morally valuable, right? That you don't have to be cutthroat and you can do good things for people and you can contribute to charities and so forth and make the world a better place. To me, that's what it's all about. Yeah, meeting great people like you.
And in this world where you can build a platform online and social media, wherever, Clubhouse, it's like, okay, so you have a platform, you have some people that are curious, that follow along and want to hear your story. What do you do with the platform now? It's time to take the platform and then use that platform to focus on others and turn the spotlight off the platform and into the audience and say, there's some great people here. Let's talk to them and let's build our community together. And that's really how I kind of look at life. And I think that's what you're demonstrating every day is you're focusing, again, not on Harry Spaight on the phone and you need to buy from me. How can I serve you? How can I connect with you? And let's work on this together. And I love that. That's the way you do life. Yeah, and that's what I'm looking up to. And I really appreciate. So thanks, Harry.
Yeah. All right. Pleasure's all mine, David.
All right. Enjoy your day. Come up to Canada and bring some of that sunshine. All right.
Will do.
Okay. Enjoy your day, Harry. Thank you so much.
All right. You bet.
All right. Hi, guys. This is Dave from Living the Next Chapter, a podcast designed to connect authors and audiences. We're always on the lookout for our next interview. If you're an author, a publisher, and you have a book, whether you're just starting, whether you're halfway through writing, or it's all done and you want to tell the world, that's why we're here at Living the Next Chapter. Get in touch with us through livingthenextchapter.com, contact us, and let's set up some time together to discuss your book, to discuss your project, and how we can get you on the show. My name is Dave, and I would love to speak to you. So go to livingthenextchapter.com, and let's get over there together and discuss all the great things that you're up to as an author, as a publisher, and let's grow your audience together. Join us on livingthenextchapter.com for great authors and an audience that's eager to hear about what you're up to as an author and a publisher. Contact us today and let's get your book out in front of others. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.
Mindshift Power Podcast, the podcast for teenagers and those who work with them. There's a huge problem in America today. There's a very large disconnect between teenagers and the adults who work with them. I'm looking to bridge that gap with real, raw, honest conversation, not held back by the chains of political correctness. You cannot solve a problem you do not understand. Want to understand teenagers today? listen to this podcast. This podcast is for teens in the U.S. and Canada. To learn more, go to fatimabay.com/podcast or just look for Mind Shift Power Podcast on any listening platform. I look forward to you being a faithful listener.